Welcome to So Circular, a sustainability radio show and podcast discussing waste reduction and circular economy. I'm Anthea Medill of Remix Plastic, and this program is brought to you by The Rubbish Whisperer. Kia ora katoa, and welcome to episode 6 of So Circular. In response to the current global situation around COVID-19, we've decided to change the planned topic for this episode, and we're going to discuss how circular economy practices can create resilient communities. We have Helen Townsend from The Rubbish Whisperer joining us, and this month's episode is being recorded remotely, so welcome to your living room.
Thank you, Anthea. Just as we got used to the radio studio, we're back in our houses. We've been missing Pete, our producer, who's been great at showing us the ropes at Plains FM, and now we're just by ourselves. So we'll try to do a good job.
Yeah, well, doing proud.
Yeah, so I think we should want to thank the essential services who are looking after us at the moment, and include the hospital cleaners in that, because I don't think that they get acknowledged enough. And if it wasn't for them, even in the best of times, we might be a bit sick. Did you see there's some discussion about whether supermarket workers and hopefully cleaners should be paid more because we've realised that they're essential?
Yeah, that's awesome, hey?
Yeah, good. So thank you to everybody and all the other people we've missed who are essential and don't get thanked enough. Thank you. So the other thing that is interesting about having a 4-week motu is that you can try no shampoo. So I started no shampoo before Christmas because I had some time off when I wasn't really seeing anyone, because the worst bit is 2 to 3 weeks after you've started, and then your hair gets a bit greasy before it becomes all nice again. But now you've got 4 weeks at home, can't see anybody, so it's a good time to give it a try.
Yeah, good opportunity. And I haven't been washing mine for, I think it's been a year.
That's amazing.
And I'm really happy with it.
It's good. I find it hard to believe that it's been nearly 5 months since I washed my hair.
Yeah, it's quite liberating.
Yeah. So now that we're all koko muka tu tara awhiri, which means stay at homes, it is a perfect time to try. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can ease your way into no shampoo by going to a shampoo bar or decreasing the amount of time between washes. But if you don't have a shampoo bar at home at the moment, you won't be getting one for a little while. Or you could just go cold turkey. And I reckon, since we're in motu and we're not seeing anyone, just go cold turkey. You got 4 weeks. Be free from washing your hair and see what happens.
Awesome.
This is So Circular. You can contact us with your feedback and questions through Facebook or Instagram using the tag @RemixPlastic or via our website, remixplastic.com. As we've discussed in previous episodes, circular economy is an overarching term for environmentally sustainable and socially responsible practices. But it's not simply just doing slightly better with what we have. It's a complete rethink of the system and requires some significant changes to our economic system. But a circular economy won't just be better for the environment, it will be better for many of us, and it will help create resilient communities that are less vulnerable in times of crisis. At a higher level, circular systems have an advantage over linear ones in that they are not reliant on limited resources. In a linear take-make-waste economy, we create things with resources like fossil fuels, but a circular economy is built on the use of renewable resources such as wind and solar. In a global crisis like the one that we're in now, it's much easier to gain access to sun and wind than it is to get things like oil and coal.
Having lower reliance on the system means that as individuals we're more resilient as well. So my favourite thing about circular economy is using reusables so we don't run out of things. And at this time, when we're trying to limit our trips to the supermarket, if we have reusable razors and we're not using shampoo, then we're not running out of things, so it's less stressful.
Yeah, cool. And then from that as well, households that have their own solar panels can independently create electricity to power their homes. And that leads into the next point, that a circular economy aims to be locally productive and globally connected. which means that things like food production, consumer goods manufacturing, and energy can be carried out on a local scale, but link in with other communities where needed.
Yeah, and that linking is pretty important, because if you compare what's happening now with what happened at the Christchurch earthquakes, if you were only resilient only in your community and you had a natural disaster like the earthquake, then you're kind of stuck. But if you have got hubs which are connected to other hubs, then you've got less reliance on the chains and more resilience, but you're still working with other people. And food is an interesting one with that, because community food networks, including urban vertical farms, so it's not just like little community gardens, we can be talking like really big scale farming in cities, means that the food scraps from that community are then just put back into growing food in that community. And this is really interesting. In South Korea, the government banned sending food to landfills in 2005, which is quite a long time ago. So in New Zealand, it's 40%, isn't it, of our landfill is made up of organic waste. And in South Korea now, 95% of food waste is recycled, which is amazing. So the way that they've done this is that the government has charged people for getting rid of their organic waste. But at the same time, they are supporting urban farming, like money to create your community garden, and also training people on how to grow food locally. So you've got this really nice system now where people are collecting their composting, and because they obviously don't want to pay to get rid of it, they're composting it into their own community gardens, which is awesome. And of course, the other thing is, sorry, this is really exciting.
No, good.
Imagine if it happened everywhere, it'd be really good. Of course, if you've got a community garden, that means that you're getting out and meeting your community and people in your community, which builds resilience as well.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I've been doing in the last week, is sprouting some seedlings from seeds that I collected last season. And it turns out that leafy greens are really easy to grow.
Leafy greens are so easy to grow. So we both planted some leafy green seeds at the same time. So I planted kale and beets, and you planted, what did you plant?
Bok choy and silver beet.
And how many do we have of each?
Maybe 100 of each. And now we can't even share them.
But when they're bigger, we'll be able to share them.
Yeah.
But so that's the thing, is you, like you said the other day, if you've got weeds, you're going to have weeds in your garden anyway. And if you're growing things like kale and bok choy and beet, I mean, it might not be your favourite vegetable, or it might be, but it's stuff you can put into soups and stews and all of that. And it grows like weeds. So if you're going to have weeds, you might as well have ones that you can eat.
Yeah, exactly. I've let the parsley just go wild. It's really nice.
You're in charge of your garden, did you know? Yeah. If you have lots of parsley, it means that the woman's in charge.
I'm right.
Old wives' tale for the day.
So there's lots of other examples of ways that circular systems can provide resilience, and so one of these is local manufacturing. So obviously there's loads of advantages to having things made locally, like providing local jobs and keeping money in the community. But it also provides independence in a time of crisis. So similarly to what we've talked about already, if you're relying on products from overseas, it makes us vulnerable to supply chain problems. And so if you can keep them short, then you're less likely to have those supply chains severed. And then manufacturing locally also means that production can be responsive. And so an example of this through the COVID-19 crisis is that there's the New Zealand factory that makes face masks was able to ramp up production to churn out a lot more for healthcare workers, and other factories around the country have swapped what they were making and retooled their machinery to make the equipment that's needed for healthcare workers.
Yeah, that's really good. Being adaptable is a good skill.
Mm-hmm.
We've found that making locally with the Rubbish Whisperer, with the produce bags, is really good for the same thing, is that we can increase or decrease based on demand, and also we can carry on making bags during this period of motu, because our contractors work from their homes, so they can just carry on, and we can provide when everybody's back doing their school fundraising, we're ready to go. We don't have to wait for a long supply chain from China or India because we've got it all here and providing jobs at the same time.
Yeah, it's pretty much just a win-win-win, isn't it?
Local manufacturing it's really good for everybody in the country.
Yeah.
Another example is repairing things, and so this lockdown has shown us that we need to be resourceful because we're not able to just pop out to the shops and get stuff. And so I'm sure that there's loads of random projects happening around the country with things that people are finding around their houses. But it illustrates the importance of knowing how to fix things, and more importantly, having things that can be repaired. So a lot of companies these days are making things and designing things in a way that they can't be fixed, so that you have to just throw it out and buy a new one. So things that are repairable are more useful.
Yeah, planned obsolescence really annoys me because it's greedy and irritating and bad for the environment.
And wasteful, yeah.
And wasteful. And I just would hate to be in the boardroom where everyone sat around and went, wow, let's just make it so that people can't fix it. And they probably would laugh evilly, like that. But the good news is that the EU is introducing legal requirements that will be, I'm going to read it to you so I get it right, implementing right to repair, including a right to update obsolete software. And it includes common charges for electronics.
Yeah, you'll be so pleased about that one.
How many charges does everyone end up with? And then when you have to upgrade something, you can't use all the old charges. Very irritating.
Yeah.
You're listening to So Circular with Anthea Medill of Remix Plastic, featuring discussions on waste reduction and circular economy in practice. Brought to you with support from The Rubbish Whisperer and Plains FM.
Another way that we can be resilient in times of crisis is that we can share things. So we can share knowledge and share digital files and things using the internet, even though we can't actually leave the house. And so most people, I assume, know about Wikipedia, which is a crowdsourced information website. So everybody can contribute to it from everywhere in the world. And so this is an example of us all being in our own remote places, scattered all over, but being able to connect using technology. And I'm sure that lots of people will be using technology to buffer the difficulties of a lockdown, like us, allowing us to record this show and connect with others, but it also provides a way to share resources. And so the examples of this during the COVID-19 crisis have been that people around the world have been sending files, so digital files of designs for 3D printers. And then whoever's got a 3D printer can download the file and 3D print visors and face masks for frontline workers. And also there's files and patterns and tutorials for sewing scrubs and face masks and stuff. So that's an awesome way that we can share but make things locally.
Interesting, isn't it? Because we think we're all in this economy where we have to just compete with everybody and it's all a race to die with the most money. But actually, this kind of situation shows us that people are not like that. So people do collaborate and work together with people that they know and their families, but also with people on the other side of the world. And that's how we work really well.
Yeah, especially at a time like this when it's kind of like we have to help each other out. And that's one of the really amazing things that has happened with the coronavirus is that academics and researchers around the world have been sharing their research of the virus so that they can come to some kind of solution faster. So rather than people working away on their own, trying to work out a vaccine or understand how things with the virus happen, they've just collaborated because they know that we'll find something faster if we work together.
I'd hope that after this, COVID-19 has really shown the strengths and the weaknesses in our systems, and it would be great if we can carry on with the strengths and fix the weaknesses so that everything is better and more resilient.
Yeah, that's the thing. It seems to, it appears to have kind of like shown all of the problems that may have already been there but not really been that obvious. And I saw a thing that somebody was saying that now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it. So we need to actually fix these problems rather than just carrying on like nothing happened.
Yeah.
And another point that kind of was highlighted earlier is that businesses that have social and environmental practices in place are more resilient in downturns. And so this is pretty much what you were saying about the Rubbish Whisperer producing locally and being able to be responsive. But it's generally because they've been built on a more resilient business model. So they have higher staff retention because they pay staff well and engage their staff. They have higher staff performance. And interestingly, businesses that encompass social and environmental stuff are generally looking at long time frames. So if you're considering environmental impacts, then you're going to be looking at more than like a year or 5-year plans. You're looking at like a long time frame. So that makes businesses more resilient.
This is really good news, and it shows that there's weaknesses when we only focus on a profit in businesses. So if we want to reduce inequalities because it is right, but also because it makes our communities more resilient, then it's really good that we're already seeing that businesses that are focused on more than just money are doing better.
Yeah. And following in from that, socially and environmentally responsible investments are more stable in a time of crisis. And it's essentially the same reasons in that they're just more resilient businesses that are invested in, but also that investors are less likely to pull out their money from investments if they are invested in them because of social and environmental values.
Yeah, because you're considering not just money, you're considering your financial return and improving the environment and social well-being as well.
Yeah. So all of the investors that see their stocks crash and then pull them out are actually making it worse by taking out what was there. So it makes it slightly more stable if you just leave it there and give it time to bounce back.
When we come out of COVID-19 and we're rebuilding the economy, we need to remember to spend our money with the businesses that support the world we want to live in. So those that are socially and environmentally responsible. Because if we don't take this opportunity to make the changes that we've seen need to be made, then
nothing will change.
Nothing will change.
Yeah.
So an example of those concepts would be that you could assume that an energy provider who provides clean energy is likely to fare better through an economic crisis like the one that we're in at the moment, because it's easier to produce clean energy than fossil fuel energy. In the news this week, there has been a bit of discussion around waste, that is, like what's going to happen with waste during a crisis. Unfortunately, in New Zealand, a lot of our waste is still sent offshore, and one of the things that has come up is that some of those supply chains, waste chains, have been severed because of COVID-19, and so a lot of our waste that could have been recycled is now going to go to landfill.
Yeah, so our response to this shouldn't be not to think about building more recycling plants. It should be about making and buying less stuff, because the world is a closed system, and our country really should be able to deal with the waste we produce. So if we're not dealing with it in the country, then we're making too much stuff.
Yeah, and ideally in a circular system, things would be able to be dismantled and reused without having to actually be recycled. And so that provides an opportunity to have like dismantling places rather than recycling facilities.
Which is great, because then you've got more jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping it local.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's loads of examples of ways that we can build resilient communities with circular systems. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And yes, some of these are big and require big changes, but some of them you can implement straight away, like repairing things and supporting local businesses. And so, following from that, what is your Do One challenge for this month going to be, Helen?
Stop washing your hair.
Oh yeah, that obviously is your tip.
Yeah, why not?
I wanted to say repair things that you've got around the house, but I think people are going to be doing that anyway. So my suggestion is that you look at where your money is invested. So either check out your banks or find out where your KiwiSaver is. There's a couple of resources that we'll put on the website to help you with this. But while you're sitting around wondering what to do with yourself, you can start investing in some good things.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds excellent.
And if anybody has any feedback or success stories or just general questions or comments on circular economy, you're more than welcome to let us know. Our next episode will be the one that we had planned for this month. So we'll be talking about fast fashion and fashion revolution.
Oh,
Excellent. And we might be doing it in our homes again, but we might not. Let's see.
Take it as it comes. Thank you, Helen, and thank you everyone for listening.
Ka kite anō.
So circular.
You can listen to all our shows online at plainsfm.org.nz. For details on upcoming shows and links to resources we've mentioned in this episode, visit remixplastic.com.